So again, thank you very much, Sarah. And thank you all for joining me. I hope that talking about dried paint is at least as interesting as watching it dry. This will be a 10-minute blitz, I hope, through my painting trips to the Mesozoic. And forgive me for reading. It's the only way you can stop me from rambling. So I want to start here with let's see, let's go back one painting. There we go. I met Ed Belt, the wonderful Amherst College geology professor, at a rock outcrop in the early 80s. He invited me to show my landscapes at the Pratt Museum and then commissioned me to paint a Jurassic landscape for the museum. John Hubert, a delightful time travel guide and sedimentologist at UMass, agreed that the Owens Valley was a good analog for our Jurassic northeastern border fault. This scene depicts the Jurassic lake phase environment from the top of the Deerfield/Holyoke basalt flow on a hot, sunny morning. A close look. Yes?
I was going to say, I think you need to press screen sharing again.
I thought, okay, I need to do it again. All right, and I'll go back to that last slide briefly then.
Great, it is working now.
Okay, great. So this is the painting I did first for my first commission of a paleo environmental landscape for Ed Belt at the Pratt Museum. It's based on the Owens Valley, huge block fault on the east side of the Sierra Nevadas. This is a little bit of a detail, and it shows some coelophyses. You got to have something to indicate that we're in a different time. And so there's the coelophyte. I don't know how to use my arrow here. Okay, hold on. Anyway, if you look closely, you can see the coelophyses in the lower center of the painting. Perhaps, what were they doing up there? Well, perhaps they were looking for a place to nest far away from all the action down by the lake. The foreground lava was from the Modoc lava beds in Northern California. And that's my wife, Liz, standing in for coelophysis and providing me with a 1-to-1 scale model. As a side-by-side display, Ed wanted to show the same view of the eastern border fault in current time. And to get that vantage point atop the now tilted lava flows, he chartered a plane. So that painting is also now at the Benesky, but was done for the Pratt. So I'm looking now for another place to show my landscapes, and I dropped in the 80s, mid 80s, at Dinosaur State Park, and I met Rich Kruger, the park geologist and director. He looked at my slides and he took me around the corner to see this 30-foot long, 15-foot high, 90-degree curved wall. Rich asked if I could paint a Triassic landscape showing our current knowledge of the environment, flora, and fauna on the wall. This was a yes or no question, and without a clue as to what I was going to do, I replied, of course. To put together the Paleo Environment, I started with a bare bones landscape. John Hubert again provided guidance, especially for the depositional braided stream environment. I flew to Las Vegas and went on a road tour looking for analogous mountains and braided streams. When I camped near the Virgin River and the Virgin Mountains along the Hurricane Fault, I saw this sign in the sky. And I knew I had found the late Triassic. The Virgin River is a depositional braided stream in close proximity to the uplifted Colorado Plateau. It's a perfect analogy for the Mesozoic eastern border fault failed rift. Other analogous environments for the mural were a short drive from home. This is a plant and plant debris model at Barton's Cove. Regarding flora, vegetation is almost never preserved in whole. Leaves in one spot, cones elsewhere, wood someplace else. How to put it all together. I spent a lot of time reading journals at UMass and looking for reconstructions and legitimate reasons for including them in the mural. I audited a paleobotany class at UMass with guest lecturer and Field Museum paleobotanist Peter Crane. I visited Paul Olson and Bruce Cornett at Lamont Doherty. They all made it real. They literally drew me a picture of the appearance and distribution of the plants throughout our Triassic landscape. Paul Olson also provided an on-the-spot vivid description of the Atriopus, I hope I get that right, track maker, an animal for which we have no skeletal remains in the valley. Without him, I would have cast about for imagery and painted without conviction. Coelophysis in clay, with an unfortunate sphenodon dangling from its jaws. Walter Coombs also advised on which animals to use, whose papers to consult, and what behaviors were credible. Here is Coelophysis looking for a vacant table to eat his takeout meal. Rudiodon in clay. Rudiodon hitting the bar for the evening after keeping cool in the stream all day. It's good work if you can find it. How to paint and install a mural was a big issue. The wall sits on bedrock ledge below grade. There is a sump pump installed behind the wall. Painting on canvas and gluing it to the wall was a non-starter. We wanted a reversible installation. I chose masonite sheets. I routed the edges so they would overlap to reduce gaps in the event that there was any dimensional or structural instability. I built curved cradles for the sheets and stored them for months, that way, before priming and painting them. First, I painted a bare bones landscape, then a second version with plants. I used paper cutouts of the fauna to lay onto the locations of the animals. I painted a 1/3 scale mural for approval by Rich, Paul, and the Friends of the Dinosaur State Park, our funders, before scaling it up to full size. The curved wall was not plumb, so I installed shimmed vertical sleepers to attach each painted section. The sheets butted perfectly, and that may be the feature of the entire mural project of which I am most proud. Here's the last panel being installed. All that remained was the finished work along the butt joints to make them as seamless as possible. Here's the finished install. And here's the mural with 9 species of animals and 19 species of plants depicted. A few years later, Amherst College was constructing the Mineski Earth Science Building, and Ed Belt wanted a Jurassic diorama in the Natural History Museum. He insisted I painted it. It was impossible for me to ever thank Ed enough for the opportunities he gave me. This, I think, is the downstairs gallery where the diorama is installed. Ed Belt's ex-student, Kurt Johnson, then the geologist at the Denver Museum of Natural History and now the director of the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History, described the paleo environment for us, and Emma Rainforth provided guidance on the appearance of the prosauropods. Time was short, so I tried using computer 3D modeling to generate my preliminary sketch of the mural. I downloaded DEMs of analogous terrain, built CAD models of the Dilophosauruses and our prosauropod, and generated my own Mesozoic flora. Here I have a tree bearing the Brachiophilum foliage. Here's my finished computer model. Here in progress in my studio, the U-shaped wall made painting on curved masonite out of the question. This was to be my first mural collage, gluing canvas to the wall. Here's a detail of the Clothopteris in progress. And here we are, here's my crew. We're gluing the canvas to the wall down at the diorama. And here's the finished diorama. Kirk Johnson chose a high lake level time and described 3 vegetation zones with Clothopteris and Equisetites along the lake margin, Phlebopteris ferns and Podomyzides shrubs set back from the lake, and a Chirolepidiaceae forest on the mountain slopes. 2 Dilophosaurs, they're small here, but they're in the center of the view, are gambling along the shore, herding a school of fish perhaps. The juvenile sauropod has drawn the attention of one of the Dilos and is looking up to its parent for guidance on what to do next. Remember, it's got eyes pointing out to the side. They will make for the Podomyzides thicket and hope the Dilophosaurs stick with their healthy fish diet. This is my latest Dilophosaurus model done for the Pocumtuck Valley Memorial Association's Impressions of a Lost World site. It's a clay model with photoshopped feathers as modified scales. It also includes a revised orientation of the hands made for grasping. You know, the old way was they kind of dangled like this. And here it is inserted into a Jurassic landscape, all digital. A basin and range digital elevation model serves as our environment. Josh Knox is the regional supervisor of the trustees of the reservation and wanted to cover the brutalist retaining wall at the Holyoke Trackway with a Jurassic mural. I wanted to come up with a way to have it painted by interested youth. We weren't able to engage youth for the first section, which might have been for the best because it was more of a challenge to paint than I had anticipated. For this first section, I did an airbrush blend from a sky blue to an earth brown in the underpainting, and then I used a pre-mixed 5-color palette and paint by numbers outlined for the subjects. Here is the finished 10-foot by 10-foot section. It took us almost 2 years to get an approval from DOT for our plan. We were, after all, drilling holes into their retaining wall along Route 5. And thank you, Sarah, and all your colleagues who have made this occasion possible. I really appreciate the opportunity to have participated today, and I would be happy to talk about art with you as long as time permits.